It's the rise after the end of the Cold War, clearly, the unipolar moment, as it's called, and the success of the American globalization project. That was 20 years ago. What has happened since is really the theme of the book. It's not a fall, it's not an imperial collapse, it's not like the end of the Ottoman Empire or the British Empire, but there are a series of fundamental, structural and internal domestic stresses and strains. So my argument really is that the power of the United States still remains very high, and it still remains, in effect, the most powerful country in the world, even today. Yet some of the stresses and strains externally, partly caused by globalization, partly caused by Russia and China working together, and partly to do with internal stresses and strains. I mean, in a way, the empire, if you want to call it an empire, is under stress. But I don't see it's the fall. It's not going the way of the British Empire, or dare I even say the Roman Empire. I think in many ways it still remains the most powerful country in the world, yeah. I don't mind the word empire being used to apply to a power with such global influence. It's a neutral term for me, it's not an ideological or a political term. But the agonies are pretty clear. We can see this in domestic politics. We saw it yesterday with the announcement of ex-President Trump for 224. We saw it in the midterms. And if we look, it doesn't really matter the Republicans have won the House of Representatives. What matters is the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other are so deeply divided, they're polarized. And that, in a sense, is part of the agony. The second agony, of course, is the one being played out in Europe in the war, which, of course, the United States is very much involved in. Interestingly, over 6 months, 9 months, America was in more agony after the end of Afghanistan than it is now. It seems to me it's found, in some ways, a new purpose in terms of the war in Ukraine. So, even so, I think ultimately the United States does want to see some settlement, but it doesn't know how that settlement is going to be made, or indeed whether Putin wants it, or indeed at the moment whether the Ukrainians themselves want it. I think individuals matter. Individual presidents make a great deal of difference in the American system, for all sorts of obvious reasons, but he's the head of state, he's the commander-in-chief. He makes foreign policy, nobody else does, so it's simple. So what president you have in office is very, very critical. And Trump was a completely different kind of American president on foreign policy, on nearly everything, whether NATO, European Union, views on Russia, views on international organization. He was completely different. And therefore he made a big difference to the world, and particularly a big difference to Europe. I think therefore when he lost in 2020, and he lost by a considerable number of votes, but he won a lot more votes, and that was a dilemma for him. Even then, he doesn't accept the election, and this tells me a lot about Trump as an individual. You know, his fundamental purpose is power. And I mean, frankly, it's easy to say it in Europe to be anti-Trump, but I mean, his only fundamental purpose is to get back into the White House. And I think, and not just me thinks this, but a lot of Americans think this too, and not just Democrats, think that this could, if he gets back into the White House, this could be a turning point moment in 2024 for the US democracy. Yeah. I think a lot of people think that, not just me. I say to all my readers, including all my very special Italian readers who you've translated this book, and I'm very happy with it. Thank you very much for doing it. I just hope that this actually generalizes the debate and takes the debate forward as well. I mean, it's very easy when you're doing American foreign policy to rely on Americans because they write so much about it. And I think it is important, this is true for Italian readers. You've got a very famous Italian professor here, Vittorio Emanuele Parsi, and he writes about the United States, and I think it's very important we get outside perspectives, both for American audiences, but also for Italian audiences. And the better informed we are about the United States, and we need more information about the United States, not less, We need better informed discussion about the United States, because frankly, and this is not true just for Italy, but it's true for many people, I think they understand the United States, but I think in fact they have real prejudices or problems trying to understand the United States, because it looks easier than it really is, you know. So that's my message, you know. Try and look at it, think about it, study it, and buy my book.